Hi everyone, Jesse here with eTrailer. Today we're going to take a look at and I'll show you how to install the Roadmaster smart diodes on our 2022 Chevrolet Equinox. There's going to be 5 main components to look into when setting up your vehicle to be flat-towed, starting with the base plate. It's going to be our structural mounting point for which everything else connects vehicle to motorhome. And then we have our safety cables. These are here as a last resort in case of a catastrophic disconnect. Those will hold everything together and allow you to get safely to the side of the road. Then we have our braking system. That's here to allow you to not only rely on the motorhome's brakes, but also the vehicle that you're towing's brakes to help you come to a stop. Then we have our diode wiring. That's going to keep you safe and legal out there on the road by sending a signal from the taillights in your motorhome to the taillights in the towed vehicle to allow people to know what you're doing. So that means your turn signals, your taillights, and your brake lights will work correctly. And then we have the tow bar, which is just the physical link between the two. It connects from the base plate to the hitch on the motorhome to keep everything together. Here's what the diodes look like. They're actually installed behind our taillight here, so it'll be difficult to see, but this is just here to protect your factory wiring from any backfeeds or anything else that might damage it. This kit would be good for you if you're like our neighbor, you already have the umbilical and the 6-pole, and you just need the wiring and the diodes themselves. So that is one thing to think about. If you're purchasing this kit, you will have to have an existing 6-pole and an umbilical cord to plug into. But with ours, we have a matching Roadmaster 6-pole plug here and a Roadmaster umbilical, and it's just your standard 6-pole. Just plug it in, close the cap, and that'll lock it in place. That's really all there is to it. It's just one of those things that you will need to stay safe and legal while flat towing your vehicle. As for the installation, it does involve running wires from the front to the back of the vehicle, and you'll also probably be installing this with other flat tow components. So it makes sense if you're not looking to do this yourself. Feel free to check out our dealer locator. You can find someone local to you that would be happy to help you get that installed. If you are looking to see how this gets set up, then follow along and I'll walk you through the process. We'll start our installation by first finding your mounting point. I have my 6-pole bracket already kind of set up here. I'm just going to leave some slack. That way we can get everything tied into our 6-pole later. Then from there, I ran it up into the engine bay. We're going to be behind our fascia and everything. That'll be all hidden. Then tucked it down. It's going to sit right next to our washer fluid reservoir. And once we got to this point, what I did was I snipped our white wire, then peeled it back a bit on this end, and I peeled it all off of the other 3 wires. We're going to use that wire later when we get to our taillights as a jumper. But at this point, I snipped it off here because we're going to ground it. So what I'll do is strip back a bit of wire. A little bit more than that. Strip it back and then crimp on the ring terminal. Then there's a factory grounding point right here. It's going to be a 10mm. So I'll loosen that up and install the ring terminal over that and then reinstall it. We will send our other 3 wires down the engine bay. I just kind of followed the brake lines up above our power steering rack. We want to stay away from anything hot or moving, so exhaust and suspension. Stay away from all that. And so I followed these fuel lines all the way back here, up above this plastic skid plate. Comes up above our fuel tank and over our subframe here. And at this point, what I did was separated the green wire from the yellow and the brown. Our green wire is going to go over to our passenger side taillight. The yellow and the brown are going to go to our driver's side taillight. Now we need to remove our taillights so we can route our wires and access the taillight wiring. So there's going to be 2 plastic caps. Just use a trim tool like this. Get in there and pop it out. Kind of tricky to get under it, but Once you do, it'll pop out and reveal a T15 screw. So get those removed. And from there, it's just going to be held in by some clips, so we'll just work it. We're trying to pull it straight back. And turn it around. Here's our plug. So we'll just push up on this red locking tab and push in on the pin, unplug it, and set your taillight aside. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now we need to find our taillight signal in our wirings. I believe it's this white and yellow wire. What I'll do is probe that. We have our taillights on right now, and that is working. And I'll turn the taillights off just to make sure that is taillight signal, because sometimes there will be wires that have full-time power. So just to be sure, I'll turn the taillights off and double check. I peeled back some of the tape, so we will snip our white and yellow wire and then strip some of it back. It is a pretty small wire, so this can get tricky to strip. I'll strip both ends, and each end is going to get a spade terminal, and those are going to plug into our diode. I went underneath and taped our wires to this piece of airline tubing. You could also use a clothes hanger, just whatever you have. But that'll help us pull our wires up. So you'll notice that I brought some white wire with us, with that yellow and brown wire. Because what we'll do is combine our white and brown to connect those. That way we can jump over to our other side to send our taillight signal. So I'll cut off some of our slack there, and then I'll have to separate the yellow and brown. And what I'll do is strip back the yellow. That's going to get a spade terminal. And then I'll have to use a butt connector, as I said, to combine these, and then attach one wire to that other side of that butt connector and crimp on a spade terminal to that. As far as plugging all of our terminals in, it's nicely labeled for us, so it makes it pretty straightforward. Our yellow wire is going to go to RV brake in. Just push that connector in. And then our white wire will be our RV tail, or this is actually the brown and white wire connected. I just used some of the scrap white wire that I had. And then for our factory wiring, the end furthest from the plug will go into the car in, and then the end closest to the plug will go to car out. And then we have one more connection to make. That's our ground. So in your kit you'll have some just a little bit of white wire. What we'll do is strip both sides, connect our spade terminal to one end, then a ring terminal to the other end. Then we'll use the included self-tapper to ground that out to our body here. On the passenger side, it's a very similar process. I'll just go over all of our colors here. The green wire that we ran back is our RV brake in. That white wire is, again, RV tail in. And then for our car in and out, it's a little bit different on this side. It's going to be the purple wire. So you'll have to cut into that wire. And then once again, we did the same trick to ground it out. So now what I'll do is get these plugged in, get our taillights loosely installed, and then we'll move on to hooking up our 6-pole. Making our 6-pole connections is very simple. What you'll do is each of the terminals has a Phillips head screw. But back it off just enough to get your wires in there. You don't want to drop those and lose them. And then what you do is strip back all of the wires, push them in, and then tighten that screw down. So right now I have our green wire, which is our right turn. That's going to go into RT. Slide that in there. Tighten that screw down. And for the other connections, our yellow, that's left turn, so that'll be LT. And our white is our ground, that'll be GD. Brown is our tail lights. That's going to be TM for tail marker. And then if you're installing a charge line like we are, we have the Roadmaster charge line that our neighbor wanted. That's going to go into the middle. That's your auxiliary. And that's going to say A. Once you have everything wired in your 6-pole, you want to fill it up with silicone to protect those connections, and then get the rest of your flat toe components installed and get your car back together. But other than that, that's going to do it for our look at and installation of the Roadmaster Smart Diode Kit on our 2022 Chevrolet Equinox.